People all over the world enjoy fish. It's an important source of animal protein. Fish provide food, generate income, and are a crucial part of rural livelihoods. To have a good fish harvest, many farmers in Bangladesh give additional food to their fish. In this video, we'll learn about feeding fish that are raised in homestead ponds. We'll first learn about naturally available food in pond water. Then we'll find out how to stimulate natural feed production. And finally, look at supplementary feeding of fish. First, what do fish eat? Fish feed on small floating plants and animals in the water known as plankton.
Fish generally eat both natural and formulated feed. Among the natural food are algae or different organisms. There are different worms and insects living in the soil too. Fish mostly eat those.
The color of the water indicates the availability of these plankton in the water.
When
the water is green, then we know there is food. When it's not green and the water is clear, it indicates there is no food. I can check this by putting my arm in the water. If I can see my hand, then there is no food. And if I can't see my hand, then there is enough food. We can also use a cloth and a glass. We put some pond water in a clear glass and check it. If we can see 20 to 25 tiny creatures, then we know there is enough food.
Now that we know the plankton are natural feed for fish, let's see how we can stimulate their growth. The tiny free-floating plants need sunlight and nutrients to grow. When these plankton receive sunlight, they grow and release oxygen into the water. If the pond water is muddy, then it blocks sunlight, and the plankton cannot grow or produce oxygen. So how can we keep the pond water free from mud? With heavy rains, mud easily washes into the pond when dikes have no ground cover, making the water muddy.
The grass that I have on the bund of this pond, I planted to hold the loose soil, so that the soil doesn't wash out and go in the pond.
আমি গাছ লাগাইছি পুকুরের মানে পাড়টা শক্ত রাখার জন্য যাতে পার না ভাঙে
I planted trees on the barn to make it strong and to hold the soil from washing down by rain. I planted tezpata tree along with betel nut. These trees are suitable for fish culture as the leaves do not fall into the pond, so the water does not get dirty.
মাছের ক্ষতিও হয় না এই দিক দিয়ে আর কি খুবই সুন্দর আর
Last year, I sold bay leaves for 12,000 taka and this year for 20,000 taka. I get a good profit from rice fish.
20,000 শুধু তেজপাতার গাছ আর মাছ চাষে তো আমি খুবই লাভবান.
If your pond water still gets muddy, add soaked and diluted lime to clean the water.
I add lime when river water enters the pond, as the water becomes muddy. That's when I apply lime. After soaking the lime for 24 hours, I sprinkle it into the pond so that the water becomes clear.
The tiny free-floating plants produce oxygen for the fish in your pond. When you see fish gulping on the surface, they lack oxygen. You can add oxygen by circulating the water with a pump. If you don't have a pump, then stir the water by splashing the surface with a stick or by swimming in the pond. You can also use a fishing net to add oxygen to the water. After throwing the net, drag it across the pond. Then close the two ends of the net together. Once closed, the fish remain in the net. Add oxygen from the air to the water by hand flushing. Finally, the fish are released back into the pond. Apart from sunlight, plankton also need nutrients. You can apply mineral fertilizer to the water to encourage plankton to grow.
The reason why I use fertilizer is that some tiny creatures, plants and algae grow in the water. Fish feed on them. After eating them, fish grow strong and big. These tiny creatures will not grow well if we do not add fertilizer. That's why I add fertilizer.
You can also use manure to feed the plankton. Niranjan Roy from Nichpara village adds a little mineral fertilizer to his cow dung and soaks it in an earthen pot overnight. He then dilutes the manure with water before throwing it across his pond. He saw that he obtains the best results when applying a small amount of manure every day. Make sure not to over-fertilize your pond, or the water color can begin to change to dark green. If the water turns dark green, it blocks the sunlight, and there'll be less oxygen available for the fish. In that case, pump additional water into the pond to supply oxygen to the fish. Apart from natural feed or plankton, fish can also be fed supplementary feed. Such feed is important where there's not enough plankton or when you want to produce more fish. Let's take a look at how Sohail Rana from Taluk Shahbaz village feeds his fish.
For growing fish faster, I add nutritious feed. By eating these, the fish grow very quickly. I usually provide grounded maize, grounded rice and soybean oil cake.
After mixing the ingredients, he adds some water and makes it into balls. Every day, to speed up the growth of fish, he throws feed balls at particular points in the pond, indicated with sticks. The fish learn where to find the feed, so little is wasted. By first drying the feed balls, they break up much slower, and you can further reduce waste. So let us remind ourselves how we can provide good feed for fish in ponds. Fish feed on plankton. These are tiny plants and animals living in the water. The tiny plants need sunlight to grow and produce oxygen. Keep mud from washing off the dikes and into the water by growing vegetation on your dikes. If the water is muddy, add lime. If fish are gulping at the surface, you need to add oxygen. Both manure and mineral fertilizer help the plankton to grow well. Provide supplementary feed to grow more fish. Properly manage your water quality and feed your fish to increase your profit from fish culture.